So let's continue our journey. So we did these couple of APIs and we were able to log in, register, login, and we were able to get the current logged in user. Like I'm passing this token in the authorization header, and what we are using in the code is, if you look at the controller, I'm just returning the requested user using this API show, right? So how this is happening? Because we are using this passport, and this passport middleware is fetching the user, decoding the user from the payload, then checking the user exists and putting that user in the request object, and that user we are able to get in the request object and we are able to show it. But for that we have to register that, we have to add a middleware like passport.authenticate, and this will start working. So till this point we are good. Now what we are going to do, we are going to write the private APIs. Let's say that the meals API, restaurant API, order API, and all the other services, and all those APIs are protected by this token. So we need to write some middleware which can check, okay, after calling this particular middleware, we must have the request.user available in the request object. That means user is logged in. So what we can do is we can write a custom middleware. Let's say that custom middleware will take care of this thing. What we are going to do is, let's say we are going to use user model, because we are going to check that user is coming in the token and that is a valid user. So we are going to call it from the user.model, and I'm going to write a middleware. And how do we write in the express? Same old way, is logged in. Let's say this is the middleware I'm writing, and it will take 3 arguments: request, response, and next. And here we are not writing the TypeScript. So for now we are good, but in the next examples we have to move it there. Request.user, if it is there, that means we are logged in and the request object contains the user payload. If we are logged in successfully but somehow the user object is null, then it's good that we should return response.send 401 for not authorized. If we got the user object, then what we can do is we can actually convert this into async function, and then we can write await here, const user. So await user dot find by id, and we are saying that request.user already contains the user object. So what we can do, request.user.id, and this is await. Why this is complaining? This is async function. Okay, await user dot find by id, or you can use callback. That is the both way we can do it. If let's say if user is null, right? If user is null, then you can simply say is return response dot send 401. Otherwise we got the user object, so I can just simply do the next, nothing else, right? Because user object is already on the request object, so we don't need to do anything. And here I can do module dot exports, and we can just send this object is logged in, and I should be able to use this is logged in middleware anywhere else. So let's say I wanted to use this middleware here, so I can just use is logged in, and I have to import this const is logged in from require middleware. What it is doing, it is just checking, okay, request.user object is there, then we are good. Otherwise I will just send for an. Okay, so let's create meal controller, meal models. Before that, in the last section we talked about this middleware is logged in. You can use either async await, you can use just a simple callback, but if you are using async await, then in a express middleware then there are few things which you should always consider, like putting try catch properly, so that if anything happens, it should go directly to the catch block. And here, using next, you should be able to handle the error coming out from the middleware. Otherwise, what happens is your request will be stuck. You will not be getting the response back. Okay, so I mean, this way is also fine. You just make it this function async, and you can do the await onto the mongoose method user.findById. Now let's go to our next destination, which is all about meal. So we already have this meal model. We can write a simple meal controller, which is all about, okay, create a meal, update a meal, delete a meal, and all these things. So let's say I'm creating a meal controller and I will require the meal. So it's like an MVC pattern we are writing. So it is meal model. And now you will start writing all the methods, exports dot, let's say, list, and whatever the way you want to use it, exports dot list. It can be simply a async function, and I can have a request and response. I can use arrow function simply to avoid any complexity. And here const meal, and this is the meal model which will expose all these methods, meal.find, and here you can pass wildcard. I mean, I want to return all the data, and if I'm using async, then I can simply do await meal.find. It should return me all the meals. Okay, so I can simply say return response.json, because we are fetching all the meals together. So it's using async await, it's easy to write the functions. Let's say if I'm doing it using callback, I mean, everybody knows how to write it, but I'm just explaining. This is the function request response, and let's say if I'm not even writing callbacks, not writing arrow functions and all, then what I will do is, here I can do meal.find, and this is the condition. First condition is like, okay, I wanted to return all the meals.find, and then here you will have the callbacks. In this callback is something like this function, which will take two arguments. One is the error or all the meals data, right? And here you can say if there is an error, then I will do something else. If there is a data, then I will do something else. Response.send, response.json or send, whatever the method you like, and it takes two arguments, I think. First argument is a status code and meals. If there is an error, then we can simply say response.send response.send 500 with the error which we have received. That's it. Or response.status.500 response.status 500.send error. There are many ways you can do this. Response.json. Okay, we are using functions and arrow function together. It's wrong, right? So what I will do is I will make it little smart. So this way you can use the callbacks. Okay, so what we can do is we can choose either using this or either using that. My editor is little just playing tricks with me. It was showing error, and suddenly all those errors are disappearing. Okay, so this is like callback, and this is a simple async await. Okay, so similarly you can have the other methods like exports.create, and here you can have async, request response, and do your stuff, which is like, okay, meals.create, create is a method, pass the payload. After doing the validation, request.body. If you wanted to do it in using async await, and you can return this. And if you're using, other async await, then always wrap things inside try catch. So if there is any error, then you should be able to handle in the catch block, and you can send that response back to the client. You can do it properly by sending the status code and error messages and all. This is like very basic CRUD you can write for the meals. So after doing the meals, we will move to the orders, because order has a lot of association. Meals is like independent, where you can do the CRUD operations, create, update, delete. If you are the owner of the restaurant, you have the access to the restaurant, so you can actually edit, update, delete the meals that belongs to that restaurant. Okay, so we are done with restaurant controller, like the restaurant APIs and the meals APIs. Those are like simple CRUD operations which we have done. This is just using async await, create, update list, and the restaurant controller. I already did it. That is just using callback, and what it is doing is list restaurant.find show, and it is like I also need to populate the meals with the restaurant. So there is a way to do it, is you can just do a dot populate. Okay, it's like restaurant.find by id, request.params.id, that this is the restaurant id, and I wanted to populate all the meals also together with the restaurant information. You can use dot populate. You can also write a promise using dot then, or you can use async await here. If everything is fine, you return the same JSON. Here we are creating a restaurant using, first we might be creating some meals, and then we are creating a restaurant. So this is how it works, right? If you see, this is the callback based code. What it is doing is, it is first creating the meals.create, right? All the meals we have received in the request.body, it will create all the meals, and then it will just create the restaurant and pass the whole object, because we are setting all the meals in the meals here. Alright, so there are many ways to do it. Here either you can just pass a single meal, first create the meal and then pass the meal ID, because this is an array. If you just look into the restaurant model, currently the meals is an array, so we have to keep adding the new meal to the to this restaurant meals whenever we add a new meal. I think that should be covered in the update operation. So here you can see, here we are just updating the restaurant, but there may be a chance where you want to add a new meal. What you will do is, you will first create or update or delete a meal, and then you will update the restaurant model, because these are not like, okay, relational database where you have primary key, foreign key. If you update a document, if you have deleted an object ID, then that is fine. But if you have updated an object ID in the meals, same needs to be reflected in the restaurant. So whenever you are fetching the list of restaurant, that meal will not appear there. Okay, so these are the basic operations. Now we can talk about the order. So in the order model also we have, okay, what all the meals we have in the order, what are the users, what is the restaurant that this order belongs to. This is an object, or user is an object, meals is an array, because an order can contain a multiple meals. And so we just need to expose, okay, create an order, delete an order, update an order, fetch a particular order, or the list all the orders for a user, or list a particular order, give me the particular order based on the order ID. Right, these are the possible methods we see. So let's go to order controller, and from here we can start writing. Let's say I wanted to populate all the orders, right? So here I can do export dot list, and this is going to be a async function, request response, and what I'm going to do is const orders, and I'm going to use the order model order.find, and because I wanted to fetch all, right? Or there is a criteria you can pass. So here what I'm importing is const order equal to require order.model. Okay, here I'm doing order.find, but I already know the logged in user, right? So I can do a where clause here, where underscore user is a request dot user dot, and this is an object ID, because underscore user is of type object ID and request dot user dot ID is an object ID. I'm returning you all the orders for this particular logged in user. Okay, you can also do some kind of a sorting here, sort based on created at. Okay, and you can also populate couple of things, because in the orders I can populate the restaurants, right? And then this is async await. I can just simply do is await. This is going to give me all the information, response.json orders. Okay, this is a try catch. We can just wrap this in the try catch. This is async await, so it's better to put just a try catch here, and here I can say is response.send error. Okay, so this is a list. Now you can also fetch all the restaurant, get list of restaurant orders. Like, okay, there is an API. What the API wants is, I'm giving you the restaurant ID or restaurant information, give me all the orders, because here we have a two different type of users. One is can be a simple user like the Uber Eats user, end user who is ordering, but there is another kind of user who can be the hotel manager or restaurant manager, who can also who may need an API to return all the list of all the orders placed for this particular restaurant, right? That is a possibility. So here if you see this order model, this restaurant is not an entity, right? Restaurant represents the user here. So like, okay, I'm a hot restaurant manager, I wanted to fetch all the orders for this restaurant, then we can do this. Okay, so here I can do list for manager, because we are going to have two different kind of roles, user, manager, and then based on the role you can allow and disallow a particular API access that you can write in the middleware. So it's a restaurant request.user.id. I need to populate the restaurants, so it will work like this, right? And now I wanted to show a particular order. I mean, I'm not writing a perfect API, I'm just trying to show you like this is how it is done. This is how the Mongoose works with Node.js to deal with the MongoDB. Here I will do order.find by ID, because we are trying to get a particular order. If this is just a by ID, then you can just simply request.params.id, and then here we can do a lot of things: populate restaurants, populate meals, populate users. Meals, restaurants, restaurant is a single restaurant, meals is a multiple, a meal is like an array, right? So here you can actually do a populate. Populate is actually lazy fetch. I'm fetching the order, but I also need the information about the restaurant, meals, and user. You can fetch them like this and you can return the data. Now if you wanted to create Then it's a little different. Here you will do create request response. Then what you need to do is order dot create, and here you need to pass all the data. Okay, what all meals you are passing. So I can just first pass request dot body, whatever is coming inside request dot body. Apart from that, underscore user, the underscore user will be request dot user dot current logged in user, right? So this should create an order for me and then return the information. Okay, once this is done, you can actually populate the order. So we have a create. Similarly, you can do the update. So similarly, like, okay, first I'm doing create, and then I can do the update based on the request.params.id, and you will pass some data inside a request.body, and based on that we can update. Now let's see these APIs in the real life. Like we will hit them from this Postman, and we will try to see how the data is being stored in the order controller, order model in the database. Okay, so now we can see the whole demo. So in this, like we have all these APIs: create user, update user, delete user, sign up, login, and then we have a list of orders. You can create meal, update meal, delete meal. You can create restaurant. You can even create the order or list all the orders. Right, so like list of all the orders here. Then whatever the orders I have created, I should be able to list them, and I can use this particular ID to get a particular order detail, and this will give me the further information, like because here I'm able to populate the users, like who's the owner of the order, right? So we are doing dot populate to populate the information about the particular user. Similarly, we can also populate the meals, the restaurant information for that particular order. Here we are doing create order. We are just passing the total amounts, because rest of all the data in the order is the restaurant, is the user, and the list of items in the particular order, like the meals. These are the only items we have. Like you can also pass the underscore meal, like the list of object IDs, and it will store them as an array. So let's say I have a create. So this is the another order I have created, right? And then I can get this order, this particular order by ID. Okay, orders cannot post, it should be get. We already have this API. I will use that. This is for create, and then we have the list of orders. I can use this API. So now we have two orders instead of one. Create order. So this is the post. Order is placed. Okay, total amount is this. Now what I will do is I can do get by ID. Yes, you can see the meal is also populated, right? So this is not happening magically. We populated the meals, so you can create multiple meals. Let's say this is something else, and I have populated this another meal, right? So what I can do is, while creating the order, I can add this another meal. Okay, this is updated. Now I can do the get list of all the orders and give me this particular order. So this order contains two different meals. You can see now this is showing two different meals, and this is the owner, this is the order creator, right? So this is how we can actually associate the relationships. The whole objective of this particular video, which talks about Mongoose and Node.js with the MongoDB, is all about the relationship. That order contains the meals, the restaurant, the user, and the restaurant contains the information about the meals, right? Similarly, it's just a simple example, but we can talk about any complex scenario where we can store the data either using references, embedded references, or you can store these object IDs. Like the order is storing the user object ID, restaurant object ID, or the array of meals object IDs, and then you can do dot populate while fetching the information, and push while storing the information, storing the multiple object IDs in underscore meals. Okay, that's all guys. Now we can talk about the nestjs, how we can use Mongoose with the nestjs app, and how we can write the APIs.